If you have a black box that you put $1 in, it gives you $11 to $12 out. You want to put a lot more money into that black box as long as it keeps scaling, right? The first thing to know when it comes to talking about how to create a successful paid ad campaign is remembering you're not going to get it right out the gate. And so it's helpful to have realistic expectations. Even today, I've been running paid ads for over a decade personally, and then I have had employees who've also ran them. And like I said, I have people from Google itself that help me with our campaigns. And most of our campaigns that we launch do not work. But clearly, the portfolio as a whole does work, and it's built a really great business. One analogy I use all the time when it comes to business is that business is like a maze. So think like a corn maze or hedge maze. When it comes to a maze, you know where you start and you know where you want to get to, but you don't know the path and all the twists and turns. The best way to navigate through a maze is to test bit by bit, take detailed notes, and then backtrack when you make a mistake. If you're the owner of a service-based business and you're currently struggling with your paid ad campaigns, whether it's you don't know how to do it or your campaigns are underperforming, or you just want to get into running paid ads, this video is for you. A little bit of context about myself. My name's Keenan. I'm the CEO here at 2X Profit. But before I was involved in 2X Profit, I had been running service-based businesses for over a decade, about 13 years. One of my portfolio companies was started 3.5 years ago. And as of this year, it's on track to do about $6 million in revenue. It's going to pay me over $1 million of profit as the owner. I'm only operating this business about 3 to 5 hours personally of my time, and my team takes care of the rest. So I've had to build out the systems to make that happen. And paid ads is a huge component of this business. Now, this is a service-based company, so this isn't e-commerce. And part of why I wanted to make this video is I feel like a lot of paid ad strategy is directed towards people who are selling tangible products or digital goods, and not necessarily a service where you show up to someone's location, you perform the thing, you do the thing, they get the result, and then you leave. That's what my experience is centered around, and that's what this video is going to be about. So currently, that business is spending around $40,000 every month on our Google ad campaigns. We have a little bit of budget allocated to Bing, and we have meta spend, which is a little bit different. So I'm going to not talk about that for this conversation, but that's what we're spending every month. I have 2 dedicated Google ad buyers from Google corporate that live in California, and they meet with me every week to review our ad campaigns. And currently, our campaigns are averaging between an 11 to 12x ROAS. Some campaigns a little bit less, and some campaigns quite a bit more, but our account portfolio on this is 11 to 12x return on ad spend, which it's pretty cool. I like that. If you have a black box, you put $1 in, it gives you $11 to $12 out. You want to put a lot more money into that black box as long as it keeps scaling, right? The first thing to know when it comes to talking about how to create a successful paid ad campaign is remembering you're not going to get it right out the gate. And so it's helpful to have realistic expectations. Even today, I've been running paid ads for over a decade personally, and then I have had employees who've also ran them. And like I said, I have people from Google itself that help me with our campaigns. And most of our campaigns that we launch do not work. But clearly, the portfolio as a whole does work, and it's built a really great business. One analogy I use all the time when it comes to business is that business is like a maze. So think like a corn maze or hedge maze. When it comes to a maze, you know where you start and you know where you want to get to, but you don't know the path and all the twists and turns, and you go left here or right here or where the dead ends to get from point A to point B. But the best way to navigate through a maze is to test bit by bit, take detailed notes, and then backtrack when you make a mistake, and then get back on the correct course and go from there. And eventually you'll make your way out. Now, if you start at the beginning and you say, I know the way to get from point A to point B, the exit, and this is the one path I'm going to take, you're never going to be right about that. And with paid ads, it's not going to be any different. Now, one thing that's important to know about this company right here is currently we're paying around $220 to acquire a paying customer, and that customer is going to pay us about $1,800. But it hasn't always been that way. When I started this business 3.5 years ago, I was paying around $900 per customer. I was losing money, and my average transaction size was not $1,800, it was like $700. So I was losing money on every single customer. But what I was looking for is directional correctness. Is this heading in the right direction? You're never going to get your campaigns right out the door. I promise you, your first set of ads that you run for any campaign, regardless of how much time you've been running ads, is going to bomb. But the important thing is that you learn how to find the pieces that are working, you keep those, and you throw everything else away. And then over time, you can take your customer acquisition cost from up here to here. You can take your average order value from down low to up high. You can get better customers and all these different things. But it takes testing. You're in a maze. You don't know the way to get there. You have to make little tests. Now, I will say a lot of times when I talk to service business owners and like, hey, my ad buyer says we need to stick with the campaign 3 months to know whether it's working. That's absolutely false. You should be able to gauge some sort of early signal pretty fast. Matter of fact, if I put $1,000 into a campaign and I don't see some sort of results from that campaign, whether it's an opt-in or clicks or comments or transactions, it depends on what the campaign's intended to do, I start to raise my red flags, right? And so I'll kind of walk you through what this looks like in real time. Now, when it comes to running these ads, this is what I do. So I like using the analogy of like a college NCAA tournament bracket, right? Let's see, let's get one more down here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a set of ads. So, we have ad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And each of these are going to be different. Maybe it's different. Maybe the copy is the same, the headline is the same, but maybe you have different pictures, maybe you have different videos. Maybe half of these are videos and half of these are images, and you're going to pit them against each other. So let's say, for example, I'll use an example of 2x profit. So right now we're trying to promote something that we call our profit leak detector assessment, which is an assessment that a business owner can go through. And in 5 minutes, it will drill into their numbers and identify the number one bottleneck in their business. So what's the thing that's causing most of their profit to walk out the door? What's the thing that's destroying their margin? And it will give them a directionally correct response of where they should focus. Then at the end of the assessment, it will give them a report, and then it will give them a link that they can go to for specific videos that we think would be a good fit for them. And we've worked really hard on this. The knowledge has taken us over a decade to learn, but we've been working for months on this thing. And we're trying to get the word out about it because we think it's a useful tool. And we think that when business owners take it, it will drive more awareness to our brand. They will build trust with us. And as we accurately predict what's happening in their business, they will want to talk to us. That's the hypothesis, right? Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But what we're doing here is, we start our first round of testing with, say, 6 ads. We actually did like 12. But we have a shared budget for the campaign. So let's say we start with 200 per day. Now, you don't have to start with 200 per day when testing ads, but I'm an impatient person. So I would rather spend more money to pull time forward and to get results faster. Because once again, I'm not looking for like the perfect campaign. I'm looking for directional correctness. And so on version 1, we had videos and these were images. Well, my thought was that the videos would outperform the images because it's me talking, I'm able to establish more trust. But what happened is this campaign, like let's say it got an ad at or an opt-in at $900, and this one's like $700, and this one's like, let's say $600. In my opinion, the $600 is the better campaign. Now there's a little bit of nuance to this further down the funnel. Like if it turns out that these $600 leads are cheaper, but they're not buying, that's not ideal. So you want to have your tracking in place so you actually know what's happening. But we'll just keep things simple for here. And so right here, I'm going to say this one advances to the finals and these two get cut out. I don't want to keep running a campaign that is 50% more expensive or whatever. Now this was wild though. These static images down here were performing way better than my video images. So we had one that was like $600 per completed assessment, really high, by the way, for a free assessment, not good. And we had one that was like $150, but then we had one that was $47. It's pretty wild. This right here, so kind of what we're doing is, once again, we're doing like a tournament bracket, right? So we have round 2, we have the, let's say 3, 5, and 6 are fighting it out, and then eventually there's a winner, and it's number 6. So once we have number 6, which is performing significantly better, like 15x better than what this one is to get the same result, then what we do is we relaunch a second round of ads. So we use this as the base. We say, okay, how can we make more ads that are like number 6? So we're making similar images, we're making similar captions, similar, feelings about it, and then we test it. Well, what has happened is we've been running this campaign for about 3 weeks now. And initially, our blended cost to get a survey completion was about $650. And like I said, we had like 12 ad campaigns, like all running through this tournament framework. So we pit 2 together, we take the winner, we pit 2 together, we take the winner, and the losers, we just simply go into meta and we just shut them off so they can't get any more budget. We just starve them out. And then we allow the winners to go through. So right here, we had $650 for a result. Well, now we relaunched a new round of testing using ad number 6 as the benchmark, the one we're trying to beat. And we're now down to about $90 per result, which is pretty cool. So in a matter of a couple of weeks, I was able to not only understand, okay, what is directionally correct here? Like what is getting us the result that we want to be getting? But I was also able to refine our marketing messaging, which we could then take those insights, integrate them back into our website, which improves the conversions across the system overall. And now we have ads, and we're still in this process. This is happening right now, but we have some outliers that are like, $30 per assessment. So these guys will likely be the benchmark that we use going forward. And if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance you'll be seeing one of those ads. Let's run through this framework one more time using another service-based business as an example. So there's a hormone therapy clinic that has a bit of a problem, and that is that most of their new clients come from referrals from past clients. But the problem is their current pricing is clear up here to like $3,000 a year. But a lot of their client base are paying $900 to $1,200 a year because they've been with them a few years and prices have changed and they didn't raise the price on the clients, which you want to make sure you're raising your prices every year. Otherwise you'll end up in a situation like this. And so what's happening is these $1,200 per year clients are referring their friends, and the friends come and then they get the $3,000 price tag. They're like, whoa, that's way higher than what I was expecting. And so we talked about the importance of creating a predictable and reliable, independent client acquisition system that isn't just reliant on their existing customers doing the marketing for them. And what we talked about doing is like, okay, so here's the competitive landscape of hormones. There's, people doing GLP-1s, there's people doing testosterone and all these things all across the country right now. There's a lot of remote telehealth, teletherapy businesses doing this, prescribing the medications through the mail, things like that. So you want to stand out from that, right? And so one of the things that can happen is if you're working with these telehealth providers is they're not actually tracking what's happening to your body as you take these things. They're not tracking the loss of your muscle mass, which is a common thing with like GLP-1s. Or they're not tracking your bone density. And you don't have these consistent, repeatable visits with a medical care professional that actually knows you, understands you, and cares about you. And that's what these guys do. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find an angle to differentiate them in the marketplace. You can't just be another Me Too business. If they try going against these big telehealth companies that are pushing prices down, they're going to get crushed. They need to find a way to be more valuable and go up market so they can maintain higher prices, which is what their business will need to keep paying them as owners a healthy profit and to keep growing. So what we recommend doing is we said, okay, we need to create a campaign. So we got campaign A, campaign B, campaign C. And so what we recommended that they do is they leave their current business intact as it is, but they need to start a new test campaign. And so right here we have this campaign and we're going to have path A, B, and C. And once again, we're going to kind of do a tournament bracket model. All right, we'll put D on there. And so what we told them is, okay, pick the ideal client segment that you want to go after. So, you can go after men that feel like their testosterone's low. You can go after women that have low bone density. You can go after people that have GLP-1s and they're losing weight, but they don't know if it's muscle or fat or anything in between, I guess. And we need to pick that one avatar and create the whole campaign around that one avatar. And so for them, they're doing the GLP-1 campaign for people that are concerned about losing their muscle mass or their bone density. So we say, okay, cool. So we need to create an offer, right? Now, I'm not a medical professional. I don't know what this offer is, but we worked with them to talk about it. And it's like, okay, you get X, Y, Z. One of those things is like a DEXA scan, so like a bone density muscle mass scan. And you get this for $99. Which is a pretty good price point. Actually, it's extremely competitive. And it's something that these telehealth providers can't do. Now, one of the components of this offer, in addition to the DEXA scan, is meeting with a clinician or a care provider in a small group setting where they can get educated, the client, about these different things related to the GLP-1s, right? That's kind of the goal here. So they pay the $99, they come into the office, they get to meet with the care provider, they get their DEXA scan, and we're creating this really strong offer that they can use to plug into these campaigns. Well, now what we have going on, once we have the offer, is we're gonna have A, B, C, and D. We're gonna say, okay, here's a video, here's another video, image, and image. So what we're going to do is we're going to determine a budget, and for them, I'd probably recommend like $100 a day. Once again, the more money you're willing to spend, the faster you'll learn, but the more money you're going to lose. If you don't have a lot of money to throw away, you're not going to want to go out launch out the gate spending $300 to $400 per day. If you do have more money and you value pulling time forward, you might want to spend a little bit more, but you have to watch the campaigns carefully. And so right here, we're going to say, let's do $100 per day. So that's $3,000 a month. And we're going to split it equally, or actually what we're going to do is not give Meta any guidance on how to display these ads. But if you wanted, you could do it 25, 25, 25, 25 and give it an equal split and see which one gets the best results. But initially what I would recommend doing is just having all these share that $100 per day budget. And then what's going to happen is eventually we'll find out in the tournament bracket, one of these will be better. So let's say that D is the winner over here, and let's say that A is the winner here. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to pit these together, and eventually you'll have one winner, and let's just say it's going to be A. So they're going to make a really awesome video. They're going to have one of their medical care providers make the video. It's going to build trust and it's going to educate the customer, and they're going to sign up for this $99 offer. Well, what's going to happen is then we're going to relaunch this. We're going to make 4 more things that are similar to A. So, A1, A2, A3, A4, and we're going to repeat this process. We're going to do this over time. Now, going back to the portfolio company I was telling you about, I have ran hundreds and hundreds of ad variations to get to where I am today. I could probably run more ad variations, but I'm kind of at the point where I'm happy with what it's doing. And so I'm spending my energy elsewhere. But this is the framework that you should use when it comes to testing new campaigns and refining those campaigns until you get the results that you want. Once again, you will not get this right out the gate. Make notes about what's different in each variation, and then write down your observations of what happens as you make different adjustments to the campaign. So how do we know if this is working at all? Well, there's a few things that I was telling this business that they need to really be tracking. Now, at a high level overview, these are the 2 most important ones. CAC, which is customer acquisition cost. How much money do you have to pay until somebody pays you money and becomes your customer, right? Then the next one is lifetime value. And that's how much do you expect that customer to pay you before they stop being your customer. If you pay, $1,000 to get a new customer, is that good or bad? Well, it depends. If they pay you $200, that's awful. If they pay you $1 million, that's really, really good, right? So what we're looking to do is we're looking to find out how much we have to pay relative to how much they're going to pay us over the duration of their time of being our clients. And there's some other factors that are important too, like the amount of time it takes for this customer acquisition cost to be recouped from your customers. Now, let's just say that your customers will pay you $5K, so it's a 5x return on your ad spend. It's an okay campaign, like you can do better, but it's a decent campaign. But let's just say it takes 5 years to do this. Well, that's a problem, because what happens is if you pay $1,000 to get a customer, it's going to take you 12 months to recoup that money back. And that's not even including the amount of resources and effort you had to spend taking care of that customer during that year. And so ideally what we're trying to do is we're trying to take this LTV and either increase it or pull as much of this amount forward to the first 30 days that we can, which then allows us to acquire more customers. So for my portfolio company, I mentioned that on average, we're paying about $220 per sale that we get. And on average, it's going to be an $1,800 sale. Well, what makes this really powerful is we collect the cash before we ever do the work. And so what happens is I can, spend money in January to get new customers. They pay me in January. I can then roll that money into February's ads, which allows me to get more customers. And maybe I'm not even doing the work till April. And so what happens is this starts snowballing. And one of the biggest mistakes I see in service-based businesses is that they don't realize that the goal of running the ad campaign is to get as much of the lifetime value upfront as you can so you can keep the campaigns organically growing. If you're not making enough money to cover your acquisition costs in the first 30 days with your customer, your growth is going to be limited. You're always going to be like, we don't have it in the budget to grow, or we need to take out a loan or put more money in the credit cards, or take it out of your bank account or whatever. You don't want to structure your business that way. So if you're in that situation, my team and I can help you not be in that situation, but you want to fix that. Now let's talk about their business. So practically speaking, so we don't know the customer acquisition cost, but we do know that they pay $3K a year. And according to the business owner, they have about a 25% profit margin on that, which means that they're going to end up profiting about $750 per client. And keep in mind that a lot of their clients are coming from referrals, so they don't have a hard customer acquisition cost baked in. So what we're looking to do is we say, okay, $750. Now this client might stay multiple years. And so maybe the lifetime value is $9,000 or $12,000. We don't know. But let's just say we can only get them to pay up front for 1 year. So we got $3,000, $750 of that is going into the business owner's pocket. Well, how much do we need this CAC to be for this campaign to work out? Well, there's a lot of factors that can impact this, but you want to make sure for certain that it does not exceed $750, right? Otherwise you're paying to work. You don't want to do that. So that's the absolute upper threshold. And you generally don't want to hit that threshold because if you're a business owner and you're working and you're taking on risk, you want to get paid. So for this business, I would feel comfortable if it were my company paying $250 to acquire a customer. And so my goal from this campaign, from this structure, would be to keep doing this until at a minimum, I'm able to acquire a new customer for $250, right? Now, if I'm not able to do that, we need to either say, okay, is the offer bad? Or is our ad approach, right? This is a little more nuanced. You have to get in and you have to troubleshoot your offer. But this is the goal. And we want to kind of reverse engineer and work our way back to this. Let's just say we're getting a new customer for $200. Yay, we love that. Meaning that after all said and done with taking care of the client, the business owner ends up making $550 in profit per year from the client. Yay, we love that. That's pretty great. You spend $200, you get $550 out as profit. That's awesome. You can build a strong business doing that. And this business will keep compounding on itself. There's other things you can do. Like you could have an ultra premium offer. So instead of $3,000 a year, it's like $12,000 a year. And maybe 1 in 5 clients take you up on that. So there's different ways you can play around with this metric. But the goal is to take this offer and get a customer in for less than $200. Now you'll notice we charge $99 here. So some of that can go to offset the ad cost. But this is the offer that we're recommending this business try to unlock a new level of growth and to get a predictable lead acquisition system in their business. Now, in my portfolio company, the way that I was able to go from $0 a month in revenue to over $500,000 per month in revenue, once again, that company's on track to do $6 million this year, just 3.5 years after it started, is I take some of this profit here and say, okay, I can either pay myself this profit or I can roll this back into acquiring more customers and I can almost get 3 new customers. So let's just say we get 2 new customers out of this. So I keep $150 for myself, my family to live off of, right? Do the things I want to do in my life. But the rest of it, I plow back into CAC, customer acquisition costs, and I have 2 customers. So now out of the 2 customers, I'm getting an additional $1,100 in profit, out of which I can roll, and get 4 more customers. And then I can get 8 customers and 16 customers. And this is how viral growth happens within a service-based business. Once this type of viral growth happens in your business, first off, it's really, really exciting. But what's going to happen is different operational aspects of your business are going to start breaking. When you start adding this kind of growth mechanic into your business, it will break, but that's okay, because the role of an entrepreneur is to solve problems and fix broken stuff. Now, there's an adage that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Your business is nothing more than a chain comprised of individual business links, different business systems. So you have your marketing, your sales, your operations, so the actual fulfillment of the service. You have your HR, you have your all the things, your legal and compliance, and there's all these links in your business chain. And if you pull on it really hard, which adding a bunch of customers to your business is pulling on it really hard, there's precisely one place where your business is going to break. That's the weak point. That is the bottleneck holding your entire business back from being stronger. If you want to grow a business quickly, your goal as an entrepreneur should be to find that bottleneck and neutralize it as quickly as possible. So in my portfolio company, the reason I only work 3 to 5 hours per week, sometimes not even that, it's because my whole role in that company now is to poke around the different business systems to look at the metrics, find the bottleneck, and then I utilize my team's resources to fix the bottleneck. At that point, the business is deconstrained, it keeps growing, and then eventually gets stuck, it plateaus because there's another weakest link. And then I look around, I find that, and then I fix that, and then it grows. And then I look around, I find the next weakest link, and you do this over and over and over. And so for these guys, eventually if they start compounding their customer base like this, they're going to need new providers, they might need a bigger office, they might need to change some things about how they onboard or how they communicate with their patients. There's a lot of things that can happen, but getting this growth mechanism in place is going to be a game changer for this business. Earlier in the video, I told you about the profit leak detector assessment and the ad campaigns that we're running to drive traffic to those. The profit leak detector assessment is amazing. It's my 14 years of experience as a service-based entrepreneur, everything from struggling in service businesses to learning how to find, diagnose, and fix those profit problems to growing and scaling service-based businesses. All that knowledge, all that experience is baked into that assessment. Obviously, the assessment is not the end-all be-all. It's only a 5-minute assessment. It's multiple choice, so it's really easy. We don't require any sort of contact information or opt-ins. We're not going to call you or whatever if you take it. But ideally, the assessment will help you find the problematic area in your business. So where is the weakest link in your business chain? So you answer the questions, it will tell you that. Once you're done with the assessment, it will give you a report instantly telling you what the problem likely is, what you should be looking out for to solve it, and then it will give you links to a video that you can watch that are specifically tailored to your weakest link in your business. So I want to invite you to take that assessment right now. I think you'll really enjoy it, especially if you've enjoyed this. The URL to take the assessment is just 2xprofit.com/assessment, or you can click on the link below right beneath this video. It will take you right there. It only takes 5 minutes to complete. It's multiple choice questions. We designed it to be very easy because we know how busy business owners are and how much is on their plate. So this is a tool designed to help you get clarity in your business, find the weakest link in your business chain so you can focus all your energy on solving that, which will allow your business to keep growing until you have another weakest link. Then you can go back and take the assessment and it will give you the next weakest link, so on and so forth. So what are you waiting for? Let's help you 2x the profit of your business in the next 12 months or less. Click the link and get started.